most things, whether it's religious, whether it's race, whether it's color, or what. And we just happen to be amongst a few people whose minds are warped. And therefore, we cannot class everyone that we see in this neighborhood as the same.
New York City, one of the world's great cities, and one of its most provincial. The financial and communications capital of a nation. For visitors, New York City is the skyline of Manhattan. For New Yorkers, it's a tangle of neighborhoods. The skyline of New York keeps changing, so do its neighborhoods. 15 years ago, about 8 million people lived here. Today, the population is still about 8 million, but it isn't the same. Since 1960, more than 1 million whites have left New York City. The black and Hispanic population has grown by almost 1 million, and it's still growing. This is Rosedale, a community of 6,000 families in the far southeastern pocket of the borough of Queens. To the passing eye, it seems quiet. Modest 1- and 2-family homes with fenced-in lawns and tree-shaded streets. The people who live here are almost all white, working-class Americans of Italian, Irish, and Jewish roots. They've worked all their lives to afford these homes. Many came from the inner city, refugees from neighborhoods in the Bronx, Brooklyn, and South Jamaica. Neighborhoods they saw changing and dangerous to live in. These people saved their money and made their escape to what they called the last frontier in New York City, to Rosedale, to what they hoped would be a safe and quiet life. In the early 1970s, a few middle-class black families with very much the same idea in mind began to move to Rosedale too. The whites saw their coming as a threat, the forerunner of more blacks bringing crime, blight, and poor services they had witnessed in other neighborhoods in the city. And the peace of Rosedale was shattered. In 1971, a score of men and teenage boys using axes and picks nearly destroyed a house reportedly bought by a black man married to a white woman. 200 residents stood by and watched. Since then, more than 10 acts of violence have been aimed at the few blacks living in Rosedale. The tension escalated with the coming of the Spencers. In the summer of '74, Tony and Glenda Spencer bought this 7-room house on 136th Avenue. They came to New York from the West Indies after living in London. Spencer, a photo engraver in Manhattan, said they just wanted a good place to live. But some whites suspected them of blockbusting, of trying to force lower property values on Rosedale homes so other blacks could afford to buy here. Before the Spencers moved in, their house was set on fire with gasoline. They moved anyway. On New Year's Eve day a year ago, while the Spencers and their sons slept, a pipe bomb exploded on the porch and smashed through the windows of the house. Police said the bomb was intended to wipe out the family. Attached to the bomb was a note that read, "Nigger be warned. We have time. We will get your firstborn first." It was signed, Viva Boston, KKK.
My first feeling when I saw it, I thought, my God, these people are trying to kill us. What they think this is, this time of the morning, who are the animals that could be doing things like this? That was my first thought. And my second, my main concern was to get my family out of the house once we called the police. And they claimed at the time there was another bomb outside. My main concern was to get my family out.
How did this terrible thing affect your children? How did it affect them?
It has affected them in many ways. They're very apprehensive now about being children, about going out and, doing the things that boys do. You got to remember there are 3 boys, and boys always get into things. And it's got them now where they look twice at everybody. They're wondering about the people that they live around. The people who live around in this neighborhood, they wonder, could that be the person? Why are these people hating us? Why are they doing the things that they do to us? Especially when my youngest son was beaten up twice in our own front garden.
When they ask you these things, why? What do you tell them?
Well, my thing for getting out of it is I usually tell them that there are good and bad in every people, every race, regardless. There are prejudice for most things, whether it's religious, whether it's race, whether it's color, or what. And we just happen to be amongst a few people whose minds are warped. And therefore, we cannot class everyone that we see in this neighborhood as the same. There are only They are in the minority, the people who are doing these things in this neighborhood. And that's the only thing I can tell them. I don't want to, teach them hate, because hate consumes people. Anyone who allow hate to become an everyday thing in their lives, their object in life and their goals become second, and their hate becomes first. And I'm not going to teach them that, regardless of how many bombs they put at this house. I'm not going to teach my children hate.
Down, down, down with the Nazis! Down with the Klan! Down with the Klan!
The bombing of the Spencer home galvanized the support of civil rights sympathizers outside of Rosedale. They gathered to rally near the Spencer house.
Down with the Nazis! Down with the Nazis! Down with Hitler, brothers!
We decided that we would come down here and do whatever we could to help the Spencer family, to help any family that wants to move into a neighborhood and something goes wrong. Somebody comes, bombs their home, burns them, tells them to go back to Africa or some other slur, right? We are outraged by this. What do we want?
The right to live where we choose!
What do we want?
The right to live where we choose!
When do we want it?
Now!
When do we want it?
Now!
Every time, like good people try to live anywhere, they've been harassed. Even in the ghetto, for instance. Our kids are being shot down. Kids are being harassed. And you move out to a neighborhood, you say, I'm gonna move out here into a peaceful neighborhood. Bombs have been thrown in your house. And that's not right. People have the right to live where they want to live in America. If I have $40,000 to spend on a house, I'm supposed to live in that $40,000 house.
Smash the KKK! Smash the KKK!
To the whites of Rosedale, the demonstration was more aid from outsiders for outsiders, and it provoked a reply.
They want to keep their community white. Right? So that means this country is separated. This country is divided. You mean you want to divide the country? I live on the side of the railroad track and you live on the other side. Well, that's not the United States then. That is a divided state.
The white moderates my colleague Richard Kotuck and I met in Rosedale didn't want to be interviewed on film, but they told us that while they don't approve of violence, they're determined to keep Rosedale from turning black. And they say that the acts of a few bomb-throwing racists have obscured their case. What they're trying to prevent, they say, is this. This is the ghetto of South Jamaica, also in Queens, just 3 miles from Rosedale. It's a familiar story. Once residential and almost all white, now South Jamaica is the home of 70,000 people, most of whom are poor and black. Almost half of them earn less than $4,000 a year. 30,000 live on welfare. As the neighborhood tipped, the crime rate soared. It is 1,600% higher than in Rosedale. More than 9,000 crimes were committed here last year. The schools of South Jamaica have some of the lowest reading levels in the city. There isn't one public elementary school where more than 1/2 of the children read at or above grade level. Even closer to Rosedale, the very next community, in fact, is Laurelton. In the last 5 years, it's gone from 35% to 65% black. So when they look north and west, the whites in Rosedale see coming the very changes they once fled. When they look east, they see this. Directly across the New York City line are some of the most fashionable and expensive suburbs in America, with homes ranging well over $100,000 in price. School and property taxes on one of these homes for a single year can be higher than the down payment on a house in Rosedale. Beyond are other affluent communities of Nassau County, whose per capita income is among the highest in America. 2.5 million people live in Nassau and neighboring Suffolk counties. Only 5% of them are black. The whites who do live in the suburbs are relatively insulated, safe for the moment from the rapid changes that struck New York. Property values and political policies discourage low-income people, white or black, from moving in. They just can't afford it. This is why the working and middle-class blacks like the Spencers, who can't afford the suburbs, have their eye on Rosedale. And it's why the whites who already live here feel hemmed in with nowhere to go. They're determined to hang on.
We more or less know what the...
This is one way they're doing it, with a home referral service run by an organization known as ROAR. ROAR, Return Our American Rights, is dedicated to keeping Rosedale white. Its home referral service was set up to make sure that if whites moved out, they would sell their homes to other whites. ROAR keeps a listing of families who are selling, makes contact with prospective white buyers, then shows the homes. This family wants to move to Rosedale. This member of ROAR is showing them a house.
Got a heck of a house here. I'm pretty sure you'll like it. The outside here, we got a porch over here that's built all the way around the house. And they put an addition onto the side. You got a fence all the way around, which is something you don't find in a corner house over here. A nice fencing, pretty good property. And they told me they're leaving a heck of a lot of appliances, so... Let's go inside. Meet the owners. Hi, Joe.
Hello, Joe.
How are you?
How do you do?
This is Angie, and this is
Hello.
Charlie.
Angie.
People that are looking for the house.
Glad to meet you.
How do you do?
We got them through our home referral system. Somebody recommended them.
Very good.
Told me you had just the exact thing they were looking for.
Yeah.
You would have guessed they
Hello, how are you? Nice to
This
see
is
you again.
Angie's father, Joe.
Yeah.
Angel's
Hello there,
mother
how are
and
you?
her
How do you
brother.
do?
How are you?
Hi.
How do you do?
Army man?
No, my son just
Wow.
Tell you, home referrals are fantastic. I don't think the real estate will let you know anything about this, but we're very selective. Very selective. You know, even the people that are showing the house are doing their part to keep Rosedale the way it is, because they could probably sell for a couple of $1,000s more if they want, but their prices are just good enough where someone could afford it. They're not going overboard, and the same token, they're satisfied and they help them keep the area just the way it is, predominantly white. Is this place everything I told you it was so far?
Certainly is.
And the main feature about Rosedale is just about everybody is hard-working people. They have a heck of a lot of pride in their homes, in the community. And we've got just about everything over here. We've got Chinese, we've got Jews, we've got Italians, we've got Slovaks, you know, a melting pot. This is, I can honestly say about Rosedale, it is America, period, the melting pot, the great melting pot. And you got it right here in this community, and a hell of a great community. I can't emphasize that enough. I think this neighborhood, with people like yourself coming in, people like Charlie and Ann who are giving their houses to Raw Home Referral, seeing that we bring the right people in, are going to help keep Rosedale just the way it is. A beautiful, white, ethnic community. And when I say ethnic, boy, we've got it. Every majority. And I don't think it'll change. They're trying like hell to knock us out. They over-publicize a heck of a lot of things. Things that happen in Springfield Gardens, they call Rosedale. Just, you know, to put the spotlight on Rosedale, maybe to scare people. But it's not working. Nobody's running. Nobody is running. And if they have to move, they'll give the home to Raw. And we've been bringing in people. I think out of the last 43 homes we've gotten, 31 have gone to white people through Raw.
Before the Spencers arrived in Rosedale, there were fewer than 20 homes for sale. We're told there are now over 200. This, too, is an old story. The fear of blockbusting can make a rumor come true. People act as if it's happening, and then it happens. Roar is trying to stop it with some unusual tactics. When a white owner is sold to blacks, Roar has followed that family into their new neighborhood, demonstrated outside their home, and told their new neighbors that this family sold to blacks. Roar is an angry outfit. The Justice Department has asked for an injunction against Roar's activities, accusing them of harassing and intimidating tactics. Some moderates say its militance doesn't reflect Rosedale as a whole, but no other group effectively offered an alternative. So Roar, with the acquiescence of people who would not themselves have been militant, became the only game in town. Who then is Roar?
I've lived in neighborhoods that have changed, and I've ashamed to go back, afraid to go back, because you wouldn't be safe there. It's It's not a case of discrimination or bigotry. It's a fact because blacks, well, put it this way, you can't take them on an individual basis. In cases like this, you have to take them on what happens as a whole.
Joe Soltis, grandson of Czechoslovakian immigrants, shined shoes 10 years as a kid to stay in school and help support his family. Navy veteran, father of 4 daughters, sanitation worker.
This is something that someone dreamed up that we have to mingle. I don't really think that's life. I think we have basic differences. Our lifestyles are entirely different. If I don't feel that I want to mingle with blacks, there's no law in the world that can make me. And this is the issue here.
Mike Biggio, unemployed accountant, bought his house in Rosedale for his mother, now deceased. Biggio is one of 2 men charged with bombing the Spencer home. They were acquitted.
The rights of white people in America have been taken away from them. The politicians are taking the rights of the white people away and giving it to the minorities. By busing, by jobs, by everything. You name it, and you see that the white people are getting the short end of the stick.
Jerry Scala came from Italy at age 6 with his father, a bricklayer. Worked in a defense factory during the war. Now a plant manager and 7 times a grandfather. Has lived in Rosedale 20 years.
I moved to Rosedale 3 years ago. And I've been married 10 years. It took me 8 years to save money to buy a house. I got this house here. It's an old house. I worked on it for 1 year before I moved in, fixing it up to the way I want to live. And I worked hard on it. And I'm not going to just say, here, it's yours. I'm not giving it to anybody, and I'm not going to run, because there's nowhere to run today.
Joe Ewald, ex-Marine, riveter, now a concrete worker. Tried to become a fireman, but says he was told the job must go to someone from a minority. Father of 2 girls and a boy.
I move from here, I'm going to run into the same problem 5 years from now, maybe. And, you know, there's no place to go. We worked hard for what we got. Nobody's ever given us anything. And we're not going to just back down and lose it. We're not going to, you know, blacks are trying to come in. We're not moving. We're not going to run like white people have been doing for years. We're going to stay and we're going to fight for our neighborhood.
They're afraid of losing everything that they've worked for.
Why should they lose it? Because a black family moves in? That they should be afraid of losing everything they worked for? How would they lose it? How would they lose it? You tell me, how would they lose that?
They'd say to you, there's going to be crime here.
We've got crime by the firebombing and the pipe bombing that was projected by the whites on a black family. So there's crime right here. There's crime in all neighborhoods, so we're not going to bring any more crime.
They'd say our property values are going to go down.
It certainly hasn't, and it certainly does not go down.
They'd say my daughter is going to be mugged in school. My wife is going to be raped by a black person.
Vice versa.
That's going on before we got here.
That could easily happen to anybody, blacks or whites. I mean, nobody wants this for themselves, whether it's a white family wants their children to be raped, black families wants their kids. Who wants that?
I mean, it's been proven in neighborhood after neighborhood. When they come, what happens to the neighborhood? I mean, you could go right from here in towards the city. You got Laurelton, which was beautiful. You got Springfield Gardens, that was beautiful. Nobody from Rosedale walked down Merrick Road in Laurelton at night. No white people.
Now, until this here stops and the people are educated to the point where they can live with white people, but white people are not going to accept them. At least I'm not.
If they have the money to buy the house, why can't they come?
Because they're going to, like we want, well, because they'll come first, and then maybe a couple of people will panic in the neighborhood. This is what happens, we'll be truthful. A couple of whites will panic, and they'll sell, and if they can't sell right away, it's in a real estate a year or so, maybe they'll sell it to the real estate. Then the real estate will maybe start renting it to welfare. And then you start getting the lower class in. And then the people next to these low-class people, these low-class blacks, maybe they'll sell. So then you got 3 houses with blacks in it. And then the next 2 go, and then the next 2 go, and then the next 2 go. And before you know it, you got all the low class in here, and here is your middle-class black running again. And he goes in and screws up another white neighborhood.
I say, if I can afford to buy this house, wherever it is, that's where I'll be. And he can't dictate to me or tell me where I should be. the Constitution and the laws of this country says that each and everyone has equal rights, and I am demanding my equal right.
We are here to stay. As a race, and right now as a people, we are right here, and we're going to stay here. Nobody's going to change that.
I look at it this way. When the house was up for sale, it was open to anybody. There was no notices anywhere saying that no blacks allowed, or no Spanish allowed, or no Haitians, or no Jews, or no Italians. Therefore, since I was able to buy the house, I have a right to it. I have a right to live in it, and I have a right to do what I like in this house, because it's my home. It's as simple as that. No one else has any form of, or any reason to tell us what we should do, that we can't live here, or we shouldn't live here, or we've got to move. No one else. We decide that.
Well, I can't deny them their right to live here, but yet I don't have to associate or even look at them, and I'm not gonna. And I won't let my children look at them, and I won't let my children play with them. If they want to live in that atmosphere, so they can, as far as we're concerned. We just tell our people, ignore them. Don't bother with them, don't look at them. If a guy wants to come out every morning to get in his car and go to work, and nobody on the street will even wave good morning to him, I tell you, I wouldn't want to live like that.
The easiest thing for us, for anybody, be it black, be it white, it's always the easy jump out of the situation. Okay, we can move. We can go back anywhere. We don't have to live in this house. We don't have to live here. We don't have to. We can move. And this is what happens all the time. Everybody says, we can move, we can do this, we can do that. But we have got a right, as people, as human beings, to live where we want to live.
Aren't we people? If they can determine that we are not people, then they got a point. If they can't determine it or they can't prove it, they better shut up. The color of our skins don't make us any less. We are people. We like to believe that we are human beings, and we'd like to believe that they're the same, but it's given us a lot of doubts, some of the things that they've done.
So the Spencers are staying, their house the front line in the struggle for turf. Even after the firebombing, their children were harassed, the family threatened with more violence. And while the whites drew together in Rosedale, support for the Spencers came from beyond.
We need you when we walk the streets.
This is the Reverend Timothy Mitchell of the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Flushing.
We need you in our homes. We need you on the highway. And right now, oh Lamb of God, we ask that you would bless this family. Somehow be a hedge all around them. Yeah, we're not praying a new prayer. Black folk have been praying for 400 years to the God of their salvation. Yeah, and in our trouble, we cried out, there must be a God somewhere. Yeah, help them to know that he's not just somewhere, but he's there when you need him most. And when it's over, if in our hearts we do not hear, we thank you. Yeah, we thank you. We're going home one day. Oh, we're going to wear a crown one day. We're going to sing a song one day. We're going to shout trouble over one day. Till that day, let the angel of the Lord encamp round about us. Keep us in perfect peace. I'll be all right.
what harm could they do? What's wrong with them?
They're black, that's what's wrong with them. And the way I feel, black and white don't mix, and it's never gonna mix. They've been here in this country 200 years, and it seems that you show me one neighborhood where integration worked. I don't think there's a neighborhood where integration ever worked, where it didn't go totally black. And we don't want that to happen here. And we're gonna do everything within our power, through legal means, to make sure that this neighborhood stays white.
If their strategy was to chip away at this community piece by piece before they could take it over, they blew it. We're all alert, we're watching, and we're not about to let them come in and take over.
Every night from 8 to well past midnight, Roar volunteers cruise in patrol cars through the streets of Rosedale, searching for outsiders they feel are a threat to their community. Andre Noblesse, a former soldier in the Belgian Congo, came to America with $10. He worked literally day and night as a security guard and dishwasher, and now owns his own home in Rosedale.
Why is this so important to you?
Well, it is very important to me. I live over here, and I want this place to be very safe. I want to keep colored people out of the community of Rosedale. That's what I'm struggling for. What Roar is doing, it might save America.
Why?
Why? Because the middle class of white people is the backbone of America. We are the backbone of America. We go out and work and pay our tax. And if the country keeps on going the way it is going, like right now, community after community, going downgrading itself, white people are moving farther and farther away. I know such instance that some white people even left the country of America.
What'll happen then?
What will happen? If you like to see all black America, fine. Let them have their own problem. If you like all black America, fine.
For a start, these people who are saying that they don't want blacks in this neighborhood or blacks do not have equal rights. Now, if that was the majority of the white people saying that, a lot of the laws, the civil rights laws and things like that would not have been passed. It's felt that the people of this country, the right-thinking people, the people who felt that there was a time for change, these are the people who made the decision, not the average little illiterate fool out there.
The people that are dictating all this stuff to us and telling us who to live with and how to live and who our children have to go to school with and all that, where do they live? Where do they live? They live in their lily white neighborhoods, way up in their high-rise apartment houses, right? Their children go to private schools, but yet they're telling us our children got to go to school in black neighborhoods. They're telling us that we have to be integrated, we have to live with the blacks. Why don't they practice what they preach? I mean, why don't they come and live in Rosedale here? Or why don't they live in Laurelton? If they want to tell us to do it, why don't they try it? But no, they sit back and get rich and tell us what we got to do.
Both sides in Rosedale are frustrated because they believe the scales are tipped against them. Friends of the Spencers point out that the two men indicted for the bombing were acquitted by an all-white jury. The whites say they can't get the politicians to listen. It's easy, in fact, to neglect Rosedale politically. Any of the representatives from the area can lose the town and still win the election. Many of the contests are decided either by the poor and middle-class black voters of Queens or by the wealthier white voters of next-door Nassau. Rosedale becomes a kind of nowheresville. The frustrations compound, the tragedies add up, and confrontation spills beyond the ability of people to communicate. It spills into the darkest passions, it spills into the streets, and more frightening than all, it spills into the next generation.
They shouldn't be here.
People know that white and black people are never going to get along, so they should just stay apart, you know? Common sense. They just shouldn't try and get together because they just don't like each other, and they never will. It's the truth.
What do you think of black people?
I don't like them.
Why?
I really don't. Because I just think that they're always looking out to make trouble. They never want to be friends. It's the truth, man. They never want to be friends. If they see you on the block, if they see you walking down the block, they won't turn around and say, hey, you know, how are you and stuff. They turn around, hey, Honky, what's the matter with you, man? You got an ugly head.
If they lived in Rosedale, you're only going to find them all over the streets and everywhere.
That's right.
They're going to be starting up with everybody, because if one starts to live in Rosedale, the whole pack's coming.
You get a minority group in any area, you see what happens to it. It's all welfare.
They don't add to the area. They
It always goes down. It always goes down.
They take everything. They have no pride in what they have.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm in construction.
What kind of life do you want for your son?
The best I could give him. That's why I moved here. I used all my money to buy a house, right? Because I like the neighborhood. I had to move out of East New York 3 months ago. Because it turned overnight in 3 years, my neighborhood. Overnight in 3 years, you wouldn't believe it. Because most of the times you see it, it's welfare. The whole apartment building turned welfare.
And what happened to that neighborhood?
What? It looks like a bomb hit it.
Could that happen here?
It ain't going to happen. It sure could happen if they all come in.
That's why we're here today.
That's why we're here.
I see this brave woman, this Spencer woman, who is the kind of woman that anyone would welcome as a neighbor, anyone in their right mind. I mean, I can understand that perhaps there are some black people who you might not want as neighbors. There might be some white people I might not want as neighbors. But this couple, this family, I can't imagine why they wouldn't want them as neighbors. They're delightful people. They're beautiful people.
I don't like them. I don't want them in Rosedale.
Why not?
They're no part of Rosedale. We just want a white neighborhood. No blacks at all.
That is the most ridiculous, racist statement I ever heard in my life. How can I say that I want an all-black community? I mean, I suppose I could say it, but I think if I said that, I would therefore be a racist myself. This is America. I mean, if they want an all-white community, I think they have to go to another country. If this is America and America stands for freedom, no one can say that in this country. No one.
Blacks say they've been oppressed for 200 years. I didn't do it. Why are they bothering me? I didn't do it to them. Their government might have done it to them. Their own native chiefs sold them as slaves. I didn't sell them as slaves. That's 200 years ago. Today is today. Don't give somebody else and take away from me. I've worked all my life. I'm not a rich man. If you want to bother the rich man, go bother him. I go to work every day. I go to work sick at times when I can't afford to stay home. That's all I'm asking. Leave me alone. Why should they push them upon me? When I moved here 7 years ago, Merrick Boulevard on the other side of the parkway was beautiful. Today, all you see is iron gates up, protecting the stores when the owners aren't there.
We don't want that. We want to keep the neighborhood the way it is. We love our neighbors. We're very, very close. And, you know, you seem to get to know everybody around here. And we don't want anybody to run. And that's what all we're trying to protect. We're trying to run. You don't understand what I mean by that? But if they start coming in, the black families, the white people will run, and we don't want that to happen. That's all we're asking for.
We want to keep the neighborhood
we want
the
to
way
keep it the way it is.
We come from East New York. We were one of the last to leave
I left
there.
the last one.
We were abused. My son came home in Brooklyn twice with his head swollen, black eyes, nose swollen. Go to the police station. Well, we can't do anything about it unless you
catch them. You have to
catch them in the act. And how are you going to catch them in the act? They disperse and that's it. The kid was in the schoolyard playing ball. They wanted the court, pushed them off the court, and they beat him up twice. This time I'm staying and
I'm
fighting.
not leaving. I'm not leaving.
I'm going to stay and fight because I can't be pushed anymore. They pushed me out of East New York. I'm not going to be pushed again. I'm too old to move right now. I'm going to make my stand. I'm staying. And I have to stay. Otherwise, I'll be on Montauk Point in the water. If they keep coming and people keep moving, that's where you're going to end up. In Montauk Point in the water.
As we filmed in Rosedale, a group of blacks from South Jamaica was coming through the neighborhood in a demonstration of support for the Spencers. To the Spencers, the demonstration said, "Hold on, we're with you." To the whites, the outpouring of support was not only making martyrs of the Spencers, it had brought to the streets of Rosedale the encroachment they had most feared.
Every time a group of blacks get together, they want to help Rosedale with their problems. We don't need any outsiders helping us with our problems. We've been doing good enough for all these years we've been here, and we'll keep doing good enough. And we'll stay white, period.
White on!
White on!
White on!
White on! This is the thing. White on, everybody. Just like the other stuff, just like our other slogan. Black is beautiful, but white is out of sight. That's all we got to say. They had right on, we got white on.
Now we say we are white, and we are proud of being white.
Hey, look. Let me tell you something. We all came into this country in plain English on the heels of our ass. The white ethnic American, that's Italians, that's Irish, that's Germans, that's Jews. Everybody that came into this country came in with nothing. And we got something. Nobody ever did me any favors. Nobody gave me anything. Anything I got, I worked for. These people want anything and they don't want to work for anything. This is what they want. They come up from the South, they go on welfare. They come from Puerto Rico, they go on welfare. We're sick of paying for these people.
Keep on going all the way down. Go ahead, keep on walking down to the end. Stretch out a little more. Let's give them a nice show. Keep on walking down to the end.
Rosedale Boulevard, okay?
Okay, so thank you very much.
10-4.
I've been living here for 24 years. I raised 4 children in Rosedale. When we moved in Rosedale, we could have slept with our doors wide open. My kids are married today. I have 9 grandchildren. My son and daughter had to move out of Rosedale and move out the island on account of what's going on in the schoolyards today. The kids getting beat up and everything.
What are you scared of?
I'm scared of what's going on. I'm afraid of them.
Of who?
Of them, the blacks. I'm afraid to go out at night, which we never did. We used to live one happy family.
You gotta leave your lights lit at night.
We go out, we have to have the timer on for the lights. We have to leave our lights outside on the front stoop, on the back stoop. We had to put the flashlights, what do you call those lights near the garage?
Floodlights.
I mean, what kind of living is this? We don't want to live like this. They want to live like us. Let them earn it the way we did, not to give it to them on a silver platter. They want to come in and take over. They walk around with a chip on their shoulder. If there's kids in the schoolyard go to school with $1 in their pocket for lunch. For lunch. I'm talking about lunch. This happened to my own son. He used to ask me to give him money to eat in the school lunchroom. I used to give him $1. At that time, a couple of years ago, he used to tell me, don't give me no more dollar bills. I said, why? Because he wouldn't tell me the truth. He told it to his sister. When the color seen that he had change in his hand, they used to shake him down. I had to take my son out of that school and send him to Delahanty, where it cost me $50 a month to keep him in school beside his books, to give him an education, because I was scared of what they were going to do to him in school. Is that the way you want to live?
We have one of the best, greatest city schools here that I can't send my daughter there because they're either like harassed or they've been knifed. And these are facts.
And let me tell you another thing. I put my last son through college, right? And I had to pay to put him in college. Now I get letters from the college that I have to donate to the underprivileged. Who gave me the money to put my son through college? Who are they?
We worked
They're
for
not
it.
better than us.
Nobody gave me nothing. I was never on home relief or any such thing as they have today. I worked and earned everything we have. It's blood. And a lot of blood, and I'm still giving them a lot of blood. Look at my paycheck at the end of the week, what my take home and what my gross is. What is that? That ain't blood?
Just an expression. What does blood mean?
What is blood? White, hard white. W-O-R-K.
Sweat. Which
Not
they don't know what it is.
A-I-D, white. I've had it. I came from a busted neighborhood, South Ozone Park. And they don't live like human beings, they live like animals, and that's what they are, animals. You don't know who's living next door to you from one day to the next. I came from that neighborhood, I ran from there, and I'm not gonna run anymore, this is it. My anchor is down here.
They're coming in, there they are.
There they are.
I strongly recommend you disperse your group, or else we will have demonstrations by everybody.
This is our neighborhood. We have a right to demonstrate in our neighborhood.
These are people that live in this neighborhood.
After the blacks pulled up to the Spencer home, police cordoned off both ends of the block to try to keep the angry whites away.
Half of the people are going to go down on the other block. We're not going to
Half of the people are going this way or that way. They are not going through this block.
We're not going to go. We're going to go around.
We'll go around. Go right ahead. Go right around.
They're not going to go through this block.
Okay, go ahead. Go right around.
All right.
Go either way.
All right. Just get the sheriff's sign.
Why? Because something on the staff.
All right, wait a minute. Get the sign over here facing the...
Either way.
So, neighbor, we live here. I live on this street right over past here. Why can't I walk?
Either way, Mr. Scout.
All right.
Why the hell does he have police protection? In our neighborhood, that's bullshit. That's ridiculous.
We live here, we can walk here.
Does he have a right to live here?
No.
Why not?
Because he's black.
He's black. They got some hell of a people right there. They want to degrade us for that. Don't let them come through. Get them out of here. Get them out of here. Everybody down here. Okay, but they're going to have to... All right, that wasn't the problem. All right. We're white. Everybody over here. We live here in Rosedale. These people don't live in Rosedale. They're citizens. Well, they still don't live in Rosedale.
So what?
Well, we're citizens. We should be able to walk down the streets. Why can't we walk down the street? Wait. Let these mau-maus from Jamaica come in here. That's what you are, yeah, mau-maus. Right, you heard me, Jack. Hey, give me your bad look. I think your bad looks real black. Yeah, the black hands here.
Rights for white. Equal rights for white. Equal rights for white. Equal rights for white.
The Constitution is at stake. Everybody's rights are at stake here. Yours and mine. Because as long as we allow anything to happen in this country to destroy the morals and the principle of one man, we are going to pay through our pockets. One way or the other, through our minds and our pocket. We must have a good educational system, a good community where people can live in, whether the Spencers or whoever they are. The Spencers are human beings, and they have a right to live in this house. And this is why we're out here now, standing and looking in and trying to see what we can do, some way to correct a great mistake that is being made here in Rosedale now. The principles that we stand for is being eaten out by this type of thing. It makes it so that I cannot look at a white man in the way that I should look at him as my friend. And I'm sure with this type of thing that a lot of white people are not going to look at me and think that I have a right to enjoy the things that this country offers. And so it's just going to eat us out until all of us, white and black, become concerned about what is happening here in Rosedale and wipe it out. Most of us know what's right, and what we have to do is stand up for what we know and what we believe.
Go home with the kids.
Professional blockbusters, that's what they are.
I hate niggers.
Coming back on slowly.
Let's get back to Mama.
turn around, Yum.
Don't come back! Don't come back!
What? Don't come back! Hey, there's a neighbor in the corner with him now.
We were riding down this block, and these white people start saying, "Get out of here, niggas. You know, get out of my neighborhood. Don't come to this neighborhood." And then they start hitting on her.
Throwing rocks and everything else.
Throwing rocks. Because we were in their neighborhood.
We went on a bike hike to McDonald's. We didn't mean to bother anybody.
We had a nice
We saw a
time.
parade. We saw a gathering. So we went down there to see what was happening. All right. I mean, we didn't bother anybody. We weren't looking for trouble. I never even know people around here were like that. I've never experienced anything like this in my life.
What happened to you?
Nothing happened to me, but this little boy, short boy about my size, or little short, had picked up a rock, and he was in the front of all these tall honkies. But he threw the rock. He tried to hit my sister, but he almost hit me about that much away from me. And I was sure wish he had hit me with that rock. I would pick up the rock right next to me and hit him right dead in his face. They always say niggas are doing everything. They always say we're doing everything, right? We didn't, every time the white people come down the block, we don't push them out their neighborhood and throw rocks and start hitting them. We don't bother the white people around our neighborhood, but when we get in a white neighborhood, they just push us out.
Yeah. Everybody with us, they said we're nothing, you know, they were a piece of dirt, dogs. I mean, that's the way you treat an animal. I mean, God, we're human beings. You don't treat other people like that. It's just wrong. Black, white, I don't care. A person is a person. Skin should have no bearing on how you treat a person. That's just wrong.
I hate their goddamn guts.
Speak.
I can't say that I hate them. I can't say that it's totally the kids' fault. I mean, I'm sure their parents had some bearing on the way they feel and everything else. I think it's just the system. I don't know. I can't say that I hate them because I don't hate anybody.
Do you forgive them?
No. No. Can't take back no hurt. But they gonna always do that. They always spit on us like we some dogs. They always gonna
spit back
do that.
on them.
Ain't nothing gonna change.
I mean, there are black people who are harassed constantly. This isn't, I said before, this may not be a unique situation. It's happening to too many people all over the world, too many people in America this is happening to. And many people, even your people in the neighboring communities, always say the easiest solution to the problem is we now are the problem right here. And the solution to the problem is, like you say, move. And then another problem comes up. So you'll be constantly running. And we can't run away from our blackness. We can't. So let's face that fact that we are black. And we'll be harassed constantly. Whether it's here, whether it's in a job situation, whether it's on busing, whatever. And we have to decide at a time, what are we going to do about it as people? What are the good people going to do? What are the, people as people, whether you're black, whether you're white, what are the people going to do about situations like this, or situations that's happening all over?
What are you going to do?
What are we going to do as a family? We're here. We're here right now. We are going to stay here. Definitely going to stay. It bothers us naturally. I mean, we're human beings, so it must affect us. It must affect our whole lives. I mean, the might of a firebombing affected our whole lives. And a pipe bombing affected our whole lives. But as long as, whenever we die, we're going to die black. We just can't get away from that. No way can we get away from that.
We are being separated by a whole lot of things going on because of the color of our skins. Yet we have the same goals. We are after the same things. You hope that your job is safe, that you're doing well at your job, there is advancement, there's promotion. We have the same frustrations of whether our children are doing well at school or whether they're not doing well, problems with them. We all have the same problems.
I mean, I think a parent's whole life is their children. Everything you do, more or less, is going to benefit your children. If you try to get a promotion at work, it's not for really yourself. It's to make more money so you can give your family more, your children. You want to give your family more. You want a better life for your family. I mean, this, I think, is what a man strives for. I know this is the way I feel, and I know this is the way my father was. I mean, you know, his life was his family, and this is the way I feel. I want them to have an education so they don't have to be outpouring concrete like I am. I think my son should have better than I have. I would like to see him president of the United States. This is what I would want for him, that good. That's what I want for him. I want him to go as far as he possibly can. And as long as I'm here, I'll help him any way I can. They're me and my wife. I mean, they're something that we've made, we've brought into this world. I mean, that's us sitting right there. That's us. I mean, and I don't know how much more you can explain it. I mean, I love them as much as I love my wife, but it's a different kind of love. I mean, you know, they're me. What can I say? You know, this is me right here. This is what I brought into this world, and to me, they're perfect, and they're the most beautiful things in the world. And you know, what more can I say? I don't know how to say it. I mean, that's the best I could say. But this is my feelings.
I want to live. To the best of our ability, we all want to live. We all have achievements, we all have goals, we all have aims, we all like a lot of things. And we just go through life as it is. Happiness. Who doesn't want that?
A moment's happiness. That's what I want. A moment's happiness. To be rid of all this sort of aggravation so my family and I, we can just have our moment's happiness. Which there are thousands and millions of people seeking that moment's happiness. And it's very elusive.
An outsider to Rosedale has to be wary of simple judgments. Things are more than they seem, and you can't neatly sort out all the streams of conflict that make this a tragedy of people coming to grief in their search for good. Racial hatred is here, a fierce, murderous passion that turns men into vicious brutes, hurling bombs at sleeping children. It's happened often in our past. It happens still. But only in part is Rosedale the story of racism. In the end, the people who live here, black and white, want the same things: a place to work, a place to live, a chance to be happy. That's one reason for the conflict. They're competitors after a piece of the dream when the dream is shrinking and there's not enough to go around. The Spencers want to be judged as human beings, not by the color of their skin, but they're judged as threats. The whites want the people who run the country to say, yes, crime, blight, and erosion have occurred again and again in neighborhood after neighborhood, in city after city. You're right to take a stand. But the decay continues, and across the Gulf, the struggle here goes on. The people with money, status, and power have bought their way out to security and stability for the moment. It's like watching a war on television. You turn off the set, and it's over. For these people, it's only beginning. Black and white alike in the Rosedales of America have been abandoned, condemned together to economic apartheid by a system that rewards the people who can afford to get out and condemns to bitter consuming rivalry those left behind. It's a travesty. It's a travesty whose consequences will haunt and one day may overwhelm America the way it is. I'm Bill Moyers.
They are in the minority, the people who are doing these things in this neighborhood. And that's the only thing I can tell them. I don't want to, teach them hate, because hate consumes people. Anyone who allow hate to become an everyday thing in their lives, their object in life and their goals become second, and their hate becomes first. And I'm not going to teach them that, regardless of how many bombs they put at this house. I'm not going to teach my children hate.
Every time, like good people try to live anywhere, they've been harassed. Even in the ghetto, for instance. Our kids are being shot down. Kids are being harassed. And you move out to a neighborhood, you say, I'm going to move out here into a peaceful neighborhood. Bombs are being thrown in your house.
The only one reason this is happening is because we're black. So whether it's Rosedale or the neighboring communities, this can happen anywhere. This isn't happening because they say, hey, those are your ideals. This is happening because we're black. And what are we going to do about it? What are we as people going to do about our blackness? Hide it? Become invisible? We can't do that.
That's what we're all about, equal rights for whites.
These are the people of Rosedale, the way it is. Tonight, their story. I'm Bill Moyers.
I was just kind of amazed to see that people can act like that, to tell you the truth. But that was really the first where I was like, wow, people do not like black people.
They gonna always do that. They always spit on us like we some dogs. They always gonna spit back on them. Ain't nothing gonna change.
I immediately was reminded of those programs my parents would have me watch with the dogs and the hoses and people trying to vote and being killed and lynched. It went right back to my history in this country.
Do you forgive them?
No. No. Can't take back no hurt.
And I didn't know what to do with those feelings.
I fi go and feed. Know me and a rat, but me I go there for the cheese. Do that up on my back and you know them I fi eat. So don't test me kill your blood clean. Hear me? Me say me I fi go and feed. Know me and a rat, but me I go there for the cheese. Do that up on my back and you know them I fi eat. So don't test me kill your blood clean. From the gully, get the youths I come up from the gully. Don't take talk on the streets, then we study. I count up the cash, tell mum if you not worry. I pray a different part and I chat it in a hurry. From the gully, get the youths I come up from the gully. Don't take talk on the streets, let me study. I count up the cash, tell mum if you not worry. I pray a different part and I chat it in a hurry. It started that first Christmas, ain't really get shit I asked for. My wish list was feeling typed down. So bro, she said they hit